Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this October 23rd, 2025. I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work, and this is a real cornucopia of content for you today. We've got a huge Blake Lively filing, essentially saying she has no new evidence. We'll explain why. And then also a huge Laura Owens story as she had a private meeting with the judge on the day of her trial that has led to an extension. And these are not normal circumstances. We've got that, plus a brawl broke out on the set of Outer Banks, filming their new season in Croatia. Turns out a director was shaking and physically touching a production assistant. You can't do that. I'm sure SAG reps will have something to say about that. Speaking of actual on-set incidents. And then we're going to talk about these pesky beef prices and how farmers are not happy. Cattle farmers not happy at the efforts to undercut beef prices by bringing in Argentinian cattle. You probably didn't think I'd be talking about Argentinian cattle, but here we are, folks. So not only all of that, but we've got a new Firefest documentary update. I know, lots to get into, these stories and more. It starts right now on The Rush. All right, here's the order of events. I'm going to share the Laura Owens story and then the Blake Lively story. They're both big, so stick around for that. But first, Billy McFarland has a Fire Festival 2 documentary coming soon. Yes, he sold the rights to Firefest, but it's not going to stop him from making a documentary about the failed second attempt at the concert festival. Now, you guys, if you know me, understand I am a huge believer in Billy McFarland making a comeback. This guy is working too hard to not pay restitution, whatever it's called, for the $26 million he still owes. This documentary is still searching for streamers, but should be released either in December or early 2026. He's actually trying to get a new festival off the ground. Listen, I'm all about it, right? Learn what you learned from the first one. Don't go to jail. Don't work with Ja Rule, and maybe don't go to the Bahamas. You know what I mean? Find a nice little place here in the United States. Start small. Get an up-and-coming, DJ, and, we'll work from there. You know what I mean? Cater the event. Don't just offer bread with mayonnaise in between. You'll be okay. We're going to figure this out. So anyway, to be quite honest, I really am rooting for Billy McFarland to have a win at this point. All right, speaking of a win, Laura Owens got a big one yesterday. So yesterday was supposed to be day 2 of her trial. Day 1, she didn't show up. This is for her to get an extended restraining order against Mike Maricini. We believe it's fraudulent because Mike has provided evidence that she faked domestic violence along with pregnancies and a hell of a lot of other stuff, medical documents. She faked doctors, all of it verified by forensic experts. Of course, we raised money for the expert, John Berryhill, I believe his name was, to analyze Mike's laptop and confirm that she's essentially, in my opinion, batshit crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. Well, so she goes on Zoom to tell the judge, hey, I couldn't make it in person. And the judge says, you better be here tomorrow. Well, tomorrow was yesterday. Laura did not show up. And Megan Fox, of course, was there as we interviewed her yesterday morning. Here's what Megan tweeted from the courthouse. Counsel and Mike Maricini were just called into the courtroom. No one else is allowed. No idea what's going on. And then the update right after, Laura Owens had an in-camera meeting with the judge without Mike's counsel, and the judge granted her a continuance on November 5th. We don't know the basis other than ADA accommodation, more delay, more trauma for Mike and his family. And then someone said she's delaying in the hopes that all the spectators give up and don't show at the next hearing. Please keep up the momentum and pressure and continue to show. Don't let the entitled B win. And my response was, well, looks like I got to go now. I will be free those dates, so clear my schedule. We're going to San Fran, baby. Now, she is delaying the inevitable. She claimed life-threatening illness and whatnot. But again, in order to make those claims, you would have to file that with 5 days' notice. According to California rules, the court request for accommodation accommodations by persons with disabilities must be made no fewer than 5 court days before the requested implementation date. Con artist Laura Michelle Owens filed hers yesterday. So the court waived this requirement for Laura, allowing her to further weaponize the court system to abuse her victim, Mike Maricini, and in turn his wife and family. Enough is enough. This is utterly shameful. So yeah, it's a pretty wild story. We don't know what those accommodations are. Obviously, there's constitutional protections for people with disabilities. The problem with that is people can abuse the disability. Now, we all know Laura, or believe her to be disabled in one mental capacity or another. That's not the problem. The problem is she's not disabled to the point where she can't provide a lot of collateral damage. She's creating a wake and a no-wake zone, that being the several restraining orders she has against men she claimed knocked her up. And of course, we know in each case there's verifiable evidence that she is a liar. So I'll have all of those updates. But hey, you guys let me know in the comment section. Do you want to see me there in San Francisco reporting live from the steps of the courtroom? We'll have to see if we can make that happen. All right, well, that leads us to another court case, and it's a big one. That's Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. Plaintiff Blake Lively's memorandum of law in support of spoliation sanctions. So Blake has filed a handful of sanctions against Justin Baldoni, that being her request that he has to pay basically punishment. That's really what it means, sanctions. Sanctions, he saying they've done wrong by the court and they owe, basically. Well, why does she believe that? It's actually pretty crazy. In this 30-page filing, essentially at the end of discovery meaning the period of time where you can find all the evidence you have to rigorously pursue your side. Well, it turns out Blake's saying we don't have that evidence because it disappeared. She's upset that Baldoni's side used Signal, a messaging app, and others that basically auto-deletes messages. Now, that's kind of how it is about evidence, right? You either have it or you don't. But since Blake claims that they were going to commit an untraceable campaign, they were so good at their job, she wasn't able to get that evidence. And again, whether that's true or not, it's really on Blake to bring that evidence forward, especially if you're going to pretty much cancel somebody, right? That's what she's doing. That's the kids' terminology, right? She's canceling him through a harassment campaign or claim. And in order for her to win, she's going to have to prove that he harassed her. But the only thing she's proved is that there's an untraceable campaign with no evidence. So here's what ChatGPT says about the 30-page document. Let's just go with the AI version of what went down. Blake Lively's filing is a motion for spoliation sanctions against Wayfair Studios, which is Justin Baldoni, in her ongoing civil case. Lively accuses the defendants of destroying or concealing key electronic evidence, particularly encrypted signal messages and voice memos that allegedly document a coordinated retaliatory campaign meant to bury her career. The filing argues that the defendants knowingly used auto-deleting communication platforms to ensure there would be no fingerprints linking them to the campaign, despite their legal duty to preserve evidence once litigation was anticipated. So I guess that's what it comes down to, is she thinks that because they might have known there would be a lawsuit early on, that at that point they would have to save all of the evidence. It really feels to me like a dog ate my homework type of argument. We'll have to see what the judge has to say about it. Here's a couple interesting moments. Even though defendants Baldoni touted their use of clandestine tactics to avoid leaving any fingerprints, they were not entirely successful and still managed to leave a significant paper trail that evidences their extensive efforts to engage in a retaliatory campaign. By the way, it's rich of Blake Lively to accuse them of clandestine tactics when she's the one who hired a crisis manager person that used to work for the CIA, right? So they then include a scenario planning document with key messaging points. Defendants were strategic and deliberate in successfully planting seeds of doubt and speculation about Miss Lively's experience on set, amplifying positive narratives about Baldoni's designed to provide a contrast with negative messaging regarding Miss Lively and amplifying negative stories and content focusing on Miss Lively. So essentially what happened was this: when Justin was getting, soft canceled, the crew, the cast unfollowing him, people started sticking up for him, and Blake's accusing those that stuck up for him as being part of this campaign because they were using key messaging points. And the key messaging points quite literally were like, hey, Baldoni's not a bad guy. There was no issue on set, those types of things. So, they were just sharing their truth, as it were. Were there actual moments that, was there actual coercion by people working with Baldoni's side? Well, it doesn't appear as if there's any evidence of that whatsoever, but we've got more to talk about with this Blake Lively update coming next. Here's another interesting paragraph from Blake Lively's document. Recently produced signal communications show that days after Miss Lively commenced this action, defendants and Mr. Friedman, which is, of course, power attorney Brian Friedman, Baldoni's lawyer, were working with content creators to further their pro-Baldoni and anti-Lively campaign. One of those content creators they highlight here is Sage Steele. On January 7th, Miss Steele posted her carefully curated video from her official TikTok account, official Sage Steele, that covered Redacted and has garnered 1.5 million views. In her video post, Miss Steele slams Miss Lively, accusing her of abusing her power and hurting other women, and claiming that Miss Lively's actions discredit other women that are true victims of harassment. So again, it's really the same story we've seen over and over, which is Blake Lively thinking everybody who I guess has an issue with her is part of a quote-unquote smear campaign. Or, in my opinion, it's people that are just calling her out on her bullshit. That's what I believe it to be. You guys let me know in the comments section. I think everyone's pretty much dug down in their opinions by now. Now, as I said all along, I would leave room, call it grace, patience, for the ability to change my opinion if evidence came out that contradicted our previously thought what we thought was going down, which was that Blake Lively was trying to commandeer the control of the film, whether it be through post-production, directing, producer credits, maybe the next sequel, things like that. Well, there just hasn't been any evidence that we've seen, barring any bombshell depositions that haven't come out yet, that has moved the needle, quite literally, for anybody. I don't know one case, let me know in the comment section or tweet at me, DM me, I don't know one case where someone says, well, I'm actually switching sides now. People kind of saw it for what they saw it as. Blake does have support. I would probably estimate it's around 10% of the people that have been following this support Blake. It's pretty heavily towards the Baldoni side, although there are some large content creators that see it as though she hasn't been wrong and she proved herself through all of these. I don't see it that way. But I certainly wouldn't judge somebody for having a different opinion at this point. We'll have to see how it all plays out in court. Here's some interesting comments. Raise your hand if what you expected Discovery to end with was her filing a motion saying she has no evidence of anything. An untraceable smear campaign that was so big to have thousands of pages reviewed by the New York Times, but impossible for Ezra and Blake to present actual evidence. How did the New York Times find evidence of it when they reviewed the documents if the documents don't contain evidence? So that's it, folks. These are the questions. And it just goes to show that what can stand up in a New York Times article might not stand up in court. And while there were claims of harassment and then at one point claims of assault, really I've turned into, well, all of the evidence is gone. So I think this is going to be a very hard case for Blake Lively to win, but we'll have all of the updates as they come. Big day for Blake Lively Baldoni, to say the least. All right, let's go into some other news. Lots to cover today. Mark Sanchez still recovering from stabbing, attorney says. Geez, what a wound, right? Said the former quarterback is still recovering. The ex-NFL's counsel, Tim Delaney, informed Marion County judge of Sanchez's condition during a pretrial conference on Wednesday. The worst part about this stabbing is that Mark Sanchez is going to have to go back to court in Indiana. I'm kidding, folks. Of course, this took place in Indianapolis, which is a beautiful city. Come on, I'm just kidding, Indiana. Don't come after your boy. Haven't been there in a while, although I've had very good, fond memories of Indianapolis. That is in Indiana, right? Okay, moving on. So Mark, of course, this is a serious subject, and he's in a lot of trouble. He's pretty much, as far as I can tell, been scrubbed from the NFL. He's not going to be working until he can either vindicate himself or find some evidence that proves he was the victim here, which I don't think is going to happen. I think his best case, assuming he did what he's accused of doing, is to claim CTE and then say that the NFL hasn't done a good job protecting people from traumatic head injuries. That's. I mean, again, we'll have to see, but it seems as though the guy has lost his mind. Speaking of the NFL, we've got Roger Goodell saying Bad Bunny is here to stay, not considering a Super Bowl halftime audible. Why would he? They got one of the biggest pop stars in the world to perform. This is only a big deal for those that get angry at Thanksgiving when someone says, some culture war issue that they don't agree with, right? We've all got that family member you say happy holidays to and they go, it's Merry Christmas, they're killing Christmas. Those are the only people that care that Bad Bunny will be performing at the halftime show. Have a listen to this.
Roger, when you guys chose Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl, there was some blowback from that. I wonder what you make of that situation and what went into the decision to choose Bad Bunny as your Super Bowl halftime performer.
He's one of the leading and most popular entertainers in the world.
This is so funny, right? And just real quick to interrupt, Shohei Ohtani, one of the greatest baseball players in the world. He is the Bad Bunny of pitchers and hitters. Okay, maybe it's a bad analogy, but the point is that the Dodgers signed him to a $700 million contract, which was, over like a decade. A lot of money, 0.7 billion, right? And they made that money back right away within a year. Why? Because they're bringing in a whole Japanese and Asian market into Los Angeles where the Dodgers play. They've spread out their wealth. They've increased their market. Don't you think the NFL will be doing that when they bring Bad Bunny in, not just bringing in a representation of Puerto Rico, but one of the largest, stars in the world to people that might not otherwise be watching the NFL? This is a huge win. Will there be a percentage of angry people that are mad that Lee Greenwood is not hosting the halftime show? It will not compare. It'll be like throwing a beach chair off the deck of a cruise ship. It's not going to make a difference. This is a net positive for the NFL.
That's what we try to achieve. It's an important stage for us. It's an important element to the entertainment value. It's carefully thought through. I would say that I'm not sure we've ever selected an artist where we didn't have some blowback or criticism. It's pretty hard to do when you have literally hundreds of millions of people that are watching. But
I think the only artist that you could hire that nobody would have a problem with is Dolly Parton. I mean, who doesn't like? If you don't like Dolly Parton, you're the problem. Okay, it ain't Dolly, it's you. You're the problem.
We're confident it's going to be a great show, and that he understands the platform that he's on, and I think it's going to be exciting and a united moment.
You're just following up on Stephen's question about the halftime show. To be clear, there is no entertaining of any shift whatsoever, correct?
Pardon me?
You're not entertaining any change in Bad Bunny's booking for the halftime show, correct?
No, the show will evolve from here. So I'm not saying that there won't be additional talent that might be available, but that's always the way it works.
Yeah, there's always the star, and then they have a couple guests. If you guys don't know, Bad Bunny actually was a guest on the Super Bowl halftime show when, J-Lo and Shakira were twerking. You might remember people were upset that a 50-year-old was dancing in a unitard. Get over yourself. She probably had like 7 layers of, leggings on. But again, this angered a lot of people that were watching a violent sport that leads a lot of men to commit heinous crimes because they get brain damage after it. You know what I mean? It's like, can we address the real problems in life? Speaking of violence, Outer Banks director Jonas Pate allegedly grabs and shakes a production assistant. Stars had to intervene. The co-creator and director of Outer Banks put his hands on a production assistant, shook her while shouting in her face, and several of the show's stars had to intervene, TMZ has learned. Well, let me tell you something. This production assistant better get a good payday. She's going to be directing this show before it's all said and done. She's the captain now. Multiple sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ the show went back into production this week in Dubrovnik, Croatia. Excuse me. Don't want to lose my Croatian audience. I hear it's beautiful. We're told tensions were high on the set, and we're told things came to an immediate boil when Jonas Pate grabbed the female PA. Now, in most cases on a film set, there's audio recording, a lot of video, so I don't know if they were able to capture this at all, but you're not allowed to touch people, and there's unions and HR and things like that, and I don't know the specifics, but hopefully, she gets something out of this. Pate shook and screamed at her. Chase Stokes separated them, and Madeline Klein jumped in to de-escalate the situation. The Netflix show is still in production, but we don't know if the incident will affect future filming. The cast is shooting the 5th and final season. I think it's a great show. I mean, they've got Deacon Claiborne from Nashville on it, right? Treasure hunts, young, hot people running around, boozing, what else do you want? I didn't even know they were filming in Croatia. I'm a few seasons behind. Don't spoil it for me. All right. Well, let's go to I don't know, American taxpayers getting ripped off for $1,000. Here's Mike Johnson reacting to the criticism of Donald Trump seeking $230 from the Department of Justice. So if you didn't catch my story earlier, I've got all of my updates on my Instagram and TikTok, DNealz, DNEALZ. Go give it a follow over there for all the bite-sized content. But essentially, Donald Trump says, well, and this was all because they, a source revealed this, but he says, well, they came after me, they sued me, they raided Mar-a-Lago, which of course they found that he had, taken, documents he wasn't supposed to have. They did all these things. They cost me all this money. So I'm owed $230 million. And of course, who's going to sign off on that? Well, it'll be the Deputy Attorney General, who is somebody that Trump put in office. There's really no guardrail to stop this from happening other than people voting him the hell out of office at the midterms. And by him, I mean, voting for a change. And we'll have to see if people decide to do that. But this is, this is robbery. So he's going to use the money and he's going to, said he's going to give it to charities. But here's what Mike Johnson had to say.
Ma'am, second row, right here. Yeah.
How comfortable are you with the president apparently seeking $230 million from the Department of Justice?
I don't know the details about that. I've just read it. I didn't talk with him about that. I know that he believes he's owed that reimbursement. What I heard yesterday was if he receives it, he was going to consider giving it to charity. I mean, he doesn't need those proceeds, but we're for the rule of law.
So he's going to give the money to charity, but this would be money that is funded by the taxpayers. And the charity he would give it to is the ballroom, which is what he's going to use to, host fancy events. So essentially, the ballroom will be funded in one way or another by us American taxpayers.
We're for what is just and right, and it's just absurd that. I mean, as has been noted here several times this morning, they attack him for everything he does. It doesn't matter what it is. This whole dust-up about the White House, just by way of quick review, because I'm an amateur historian, you'll understand, the White House has been renovated many times over the years, you understand?
And of course, when the White House is renovated, it's supposed to be approved by Congress when it's major things, more than just a general facelift. And it is major things. Now, this is interesting because, by calling it Trump derangement syndrome, this is what people use when they tell me I've got Trump derangement syndrome. And it's like, well, I'm sorry. Every single thing Trump does is ripping off the American public from his crypto scams. I mean, these are things I just have to assume most people don't understand crypto. These are non-negotiable scams that he's doing. You have to understand that he's created a way to funnel money through fake currency so other countries or billionaires or whoever can donate, can give him, can put money into the system, and then they can get first priority when it comes to carving out some special deal. We saw this play out in the Middle East. I think it was Saudi Arabia. I don't remember who it was. Put several $billion into Trump's crypto coin, and then of course they were able to gain access to NVIDIA chips. So we're essentially giving other countries a leg up on intelligence and technology, all while our president is making billions. Folks, this is happening. I don't know how else to describe it. People are, and not only that, it's one thing to donate to his crypto scam. Now he's going to be asking the Department of Justice to pay him $250 million. That money comes from the Treasury, which is our tax dollars. Do we all understand how this works? Okay, good. Let's move it on. Well, you've pissed off the cattle industry. You could say they've got beef with Trump. All right, folks, you see what I did there? Here's our final story of the day. Trump said the cattle ranchers who I love don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the past 20 years. Terrible. It'd be nice if they would understand that, but they also have to get their prices down because the consumer is a very big factor in my thinking. And again, this is all in response to Donald Trump essentially bringing the price down on cattle by introducing Argentinian beef. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association, one of my favorite organizations out there, said this: the reality is that ranchers' success is driven by their own hard work. Oh, you know what? I should be playing the national anthem while I do this because it's really just good to see. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of cattle ranchers probably voted for Trump, but, you know, I think it's good for us to play the national anthem when people decide to come together and unite and speak out against, you know, ways that we're being ripped off. America's cattlemen and women operate in one of the most competitive marketplaces in the world. U.S. cattle producers are proud to provide the safest, highest quality beef on earth. We simply ask that the government not undercut them by importing more Argentinian beef in order to manipulate prices. Cattlemen and women cannot stand behind President Trump while he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentinian beef. It is imperative that President Trump and Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins let cattle markets work without interference. If the administration is truly an ally of America's cattle producers, we call on him to abandon this effort to manipulate markets and focus instead on completing the promised New World screw-worm facility in Texas. Make additional investments that protect the domestic cattle herd from foreign animal disease such as FMD, and address regulatory burdens such as delisting of the gray wolf and addressing the scourge of black vultures. I have no idea what the hell that last part meant, but it sounded pretty badass. There is the National Cattlemen's Beef Association telling Trump, stand down with that Argentinian ass. All right, and by the way, don't take my word for it. Here we have a cattle farmer, again, also speaking out against the manipulation of prices by introducing Argentinian beef into our market.
Everybody's wound up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices because the beef's too expensive here. And I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. First of all, it's not really a new thing to import beef. We've imported beef in this country for a long time. What is new, however, is the government getting involved because of the prices and saying the beef prices are too high. We're going to make a deal. We're going to buy a bunch of beef from Argentina, and we're going to undercut the American farmers and ranchers who are finally making some decent money. And that's just, it's a socialist mindset, if you ask me. That's not what I've grown up thinking as an American market, you know, supply and demand. Where did that go?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, there it is, folks. So you've lost the farmers and you've officially lost the plot. Well, you can join us friendly progressives as we fight for the middle class and for, you know, bringing wealth and prosperity back to hardworking Americans. I don't care if you're a single mom working 2 jobs or a farmer out there plowing your land. You both deserve to live with some prosperity, don't we all? We're all working hard out there. All right, that's going to do it for us this morning. We got a big show coming this afternoon. I'm doing a little extra expose on the H3 podcast. Ethan Klein suing a subreddit. It's very interesting. Stick around. Make sure you subscribe to get those updates. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.